Welcome to the Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zerl. With me, as always, the professional film critic, Sean Patrick. Visit us at ihatecritics.net, everyone's a critic podcast.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our handle is CriticsPod. You can listen to us at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Alexa, all your podcatchers. Subscribe to the show, rate and review the show. If you leave us an Apple Podcast 5-star review, we'll read it on the air. And Sean has some 4K Blu-rays that the distributors has given us that you will get if you give us a 5-star review. What else? Patreon.com/criticspod is the best way to support the podcast. Get yourself a credit on the show and get some bonus episodes that are not heard on the regular feed. Sometimes we do release them to both, but for the most part we don't. So there's a lot of good stuff out there if you're into our shows. So please become a Patreon subscriber. Our TeePublic link is at ihatecritics.net. There's a TeePublic link at the top there in the right-hand corner. Or go to TeePublic and search CriticsPod. And if you're in the Quad City area and you're looking at the Goodwills, there may be some I Hate Critics or Everyone's a Critic podcast merch.
Why didn't we get this before?
Yeah, just buy it. And
free advertising.
It's not free. TeePublic's expensive. I remember when Josh was on, he was pissed, and I'm like, dude, it's our merch. Don't get mad at him for the shipping cost. But yeah, if you are 2XL and you're just shopping around the Goodwills, you might find a Batman versus Jesus shirt or a Willem Dafoe's huge penis shirt or the Cameron Diaz shoulder shirt. All of them will be at one of the Goodwills in the Quad Cities. I don't know which one yet. All right, let's jump into the news you have for this week, Sean.
Yeah, there's some, because I know you've been busy. You may not have heard of some of this. So obviously you probably did hear that Olivia Newton-John passed away today. Yes. 73 years old, quite young, quite sad. Not much of a movie star. She was in Xanadu, though, and Xanadu is a iconic bad movie. It's still, she was also in Grease, obviously. And
right.
Honestly, I'll never think of anything but Xanadu when I think of her. Not to be mean, I just love Xanadu for all the wrong reasons. But no, wonderful singer though, and certainly the video for Physical is one that transformed a lot of young men's lives. Gay and straight.
I'm a little bit younger. I mean, I'm aware of the video, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't get to grow up with it, if you will.
No. I was a little young for it myself, but yeah. I remember feeling funny seeing it for the first time. But yeah, she's awesome as a singer though, and really just iconic as a singer, and that just happened today, so that's why I mention it. Let's see. Oh, the other thing. Did you hear about Batgirl?
Yes, I did, because I'm an accountant, and it happened for accounting reasons.
Well, no, Bob. Didn't you hear from the CEO of Discovery? They don't release movies that they don't believe in.
Or they don't release movies that they need to spend $30 million to fix, but they get a $20 million tax credit if they don't spend the $30 million, so they just take the tax credit. That's really what happened. But tomato.
It's that one and Scoob, and this is like a whole new world now. Like this is like, because I'm a big fan of lost media. Like I love lost media stories on YouTube. There's so many awesome things that are just like still hiding in warehouses that people are still looking and might find someday and put on the internet. And I'm wondering now what happens. Like this just goes into a vault and just sits there forever. Like, will we ever see any pieces of this? Will somebody try and steal it and sneak it out into the public somehow? Like, I don't know. I'm fascinated by this, and it's awful. I hate it. I don't understand it. I don't understand it because, again, that bullshit idea that we don't release movies we don't believe in. That's such a load of crap.
That's a cop-out, because that's not
It's
true.
A total load of crap. Like, there's all kinds of movies that are on HBO Discovery right now that I would imagine don't meet the belief system of anybody at Warner Brothers Discovery. They've released a ton of bad movies. It's like, You've got a lot of Vin Diesel movies in that category, like right. The catalog. Like, come on, don't blow smoke up my ass. This isn't about whether or not this was a good movie or not. Nobody knows if this was a good movie or not. They're making a decision based on the money spent, not about whether or not the movie is any good.
And the money they got to spend to finish it. And with the tax write-off, it's simply a financial decision, and that's it. And because of that, they can't make a penny off of this. So in order for us to see it, it's going to have to be leaked somehow. I don't know if you saw Kevin Smith's comments on it. He says it's a horrible, it's a bad look. You know, you got a Latina Batgirl, and you're not releasing it. It may be a piece of crap. I really don't know. But
meanwhile, the Flash got arrested again today, by the way. He's been arrested multiple times. He's being sought by authorities in other countries. His movie's still coming out, but
you don't have a guy to promote it. I mean, you got Michael Keaton in both of them. If nothing else, people will go to the theater to see that, or HBO Max or something.
That's what boggles my mind. Like, people were gonna go see this. Like, it could have. I mean, people went to see Catwoman, for fuck's sake. You know, it may have been a disaster, but people went to see it. They wanted to see the disaster. I mean, they've now, by doing this, they actually created a market. Like, you've now created the demand for this, and now you can't put it out. Like, it's a baffling decision to me, based off of a $10 million, accounting situation. Like, come on, you're going to be saving $10 million. You don't know. Now that you've created this demand, you could have turned this into a $300 million blockbuster with a $150 million opening weekend just because of the curiosity you created about it.
Well, one of the things that I heard too was the president was like, we're going to kind of follow the Marvel lead and avoid TV. Which is like, what?
Which is weird because Marvel's all over.
They're all over TV right now.
Yeah, they've got very successful television shows.
Yeah. What it makes me wonder is if they're going to go back on HBO Max. I think HBO Max is actually really, really good right now. It started off kind of shaky, but it's one of the most reliable stations. I know a lot of it's HBO shows, but I really like that streaming service. And if they're losing belief in HBO Max, that could be really bad.
Well, it's certainly they're losing interest in their product that they create, that they're responsible for. Did you see this? Remember that Seth Rogen pickle movie? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's gone now. They pulled that. They pulled that and 8 other titles off of HBO Max just the other day. That didn't give any reason for it. They just did it. And who knows? Are those now considered lost media? Are those going to be gone forever? Have those ever been available on DVD? I don't know.
Yeah, it just seems like this guy's got a weird, because correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the same guy that shut down the CNN Plus thing. And that was a disaster, don't get me wrong. But they put all this money in it, and he just instantly didn't try to fix it, just shut it down. So I don't know.
I'm curious what the stockholders think of this. What are they going to tell stockholders? Like, hey, you spent $100 million to make a movie you're not going to release now?
Well, the way stockholders look at things, though, is, again, they weren't done spending money on it because COVID kind of fucked the movie a little bit. So there was that. Then you got to market it. So that's another $20 million if you're going to market it. So now you're up to like $40-50 million, or you can write it off and get a $20 million tax write-off. That's essentially a $70 million swing. So that's probably what they're looking at. Again, you're still losing $20 million because you've already spent 90. But it's, I don't know. It's simply financial, and it's obviously you need those guys to do things right for companies, but and part of me is wondering too if this is let's see how this goes, and if this doesn't go well, we'll can the Flash as well. But to me, I would have done it backwards. I don't know, unless they really think. I mean, you don't have a guy to go market the Flash, so you already have that going against you. Maybe it's really good, but I don't want to like it. I mean, there's movies I've loved that as I start to hate the actors, it's made me feel bad about, watching.
I know that experience. I was just editing a review of the movie Edge of Darkness with Mel Gibson the other day because I put that up on the blog, and that's a really good movie. But every time I look at it, I go, that's fucking Mel Gibson.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard that way. I don't know. It's got to be chilling for creators to think that, hey, we can dedicate all this time and effort and money to making a movie, and they could just say, well, I know you've made this movie, but we're not going to release it. like Scoob, I think, was done, basically. The Scoob sequel was basically done, and they said, nah.
And I don't know. They're able to hide behind COVID. They're able to hide behind, what you just said. We don't release movies we don't believe in. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's so weird. Like
that's such a bullshit.
They had a cool TV series idea. It sounds like because they actually hired Kevin Smith to write one of the shows.
Yeah,
and he was going to do just an episode about Bizarro Superman or whatever. And it was in a world where Superman didn't exist, and it sounded amazing the way he described the show, but they just cut it, didn't. So maybe he'll release it as a comic book someday. And it would have been several different directors doing just random, unknown DC characters on this television show. But I don't know. It is what it is, and I'm a big believer in accounting, but at the same time, some of them drive me nuts.
If you're a creator, do you want to go to Warner Brothers now? Do you want to try and make a movie under their banner now? Or do you go, well, they may finance my movie, but they may also just take it and stuff it on a shelf somewhere if they feel like it. Like, I wouldn't want to work for them again.
Depends on who I am. You know? I mean, if I'm Brett Ratner, I'll do whatever. If anybody will hire me, I'll go there. But that's not a very fair. He's not making movies for other reasons. There's the guys that are paycheck people, and so I mean, Kevin Smith got paid very well to write that script, and so I'm sure there'll be writers that do stuff, but.
I talk about lost media. How about anything that Kevin Smith has just written and given to people like here, and they go, nah, it's all right. That's a whole other thing right there.
Well, and guess who he was going to cast as Bizarro? Nicolas Cage. I don't even give a shit about comic books anymore, but I was excited about that one. And I knew it before he told the story. I knew it wasn't happening, and he got me excited, and then he broke my heart all over again.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
The last piece of news is that Anne Heche, the actress, is hanging on by a thread. She is still alive, but it doesn't look good. They say she's in extremely critical condition. You haven't heard. She drove her car. She got very, very drunk, apparently, allegedly, and drove her car through a house. The house caught on fire. She caught on fire. There's an incredibly haunting video taken from an helicopter that shows her being wheeled out on an ambulance. It almost looks like she's in a body bag, but it's just wrapped up because she's severely burned. And then suddenly, right before they put her in the ambulance, she just sits up, her arms flailing everywhere, and it is just it's chilling. But it's incredibly sad. Thankfully, she didn't kill anybody. Yeah. That woman did lose her entire home, which is awful. And but it's sad. It's just all around sad. She's had a lot of troubles, and as oftentimes she's been a very good actress, and oftentimes she's been kind of off the rails. It's just unfortunate to see it go the way it has. And man, what a weird story. What a weird story.
So she took a turn for the worse. I know last time I looked, she was in stable condition, but never mind. I just pulled up a news site and Olivia Newton-John dead popped up, and I thought it was Anne Heche for a second.
No, I saw it. Just saw it on Twitter just a few minutes ago. She's gone back to critical condition now.
That's awful. I mean, yeah, it sucks all around. It sucks for the people that are victims of what she did, but
yeah,
you still don't want to I don't know. That's just. I saw the video. You're right. It's incredibly chilling. All right, let's start off with Vengeance.
Vengeance, written, directed, and starring B.J. Novak as this sort of empty guy who just kind of moves from one empty relationship to the next. But, he's fine doing that. He likes just kind of floating around, being single, having sex with anybody who wants. That's cool. Then his life kind of gets turned upside down with when one of the women he was hooking up with ends up dead somewhere in Texas. He gets a call from Boyd Holbrook, who plays the young woman's brother. He's under the impression that B.J. Novak and his sister were very, very, very close, like really boyfriend and girlfriend stuff. So he insists that BJ Novak go down to Texas and be there for the funeral and be there with the family. And in the process of that, he discovers that, hey, this could be a pretty good podcast story, like my own serial that could really make me a big star. And he covers a lot of very colorful characters. The family is very colorful. And then there's a character played by Ashton Kutcher, who is a music producer who produced the music of this girl that he was hooking up with, the sister of Boyd Holbrook. And he gives Ashton Kutcher these 3 incredible monologues that Kutcher absolutely fucking nails. He's amazing in this movie. He is so great. And Boyd Holbrook is great. Issa Rae is great. And this movie is terrific. This is a movie that is both very funny, but also it catches you off guard, especially a very strong ending that kind of really knocks you for a loop. BJ Novak's put together something pretty incredible here that is it's incredibly modern. It's incredibly thoughtful. It's very funny, but it's also got a really strong dramatic edge when it wants to. Really complicated and just a terrific movie overall.
That's awesome. I know a couple weeks ago, last time we recorded, you kind of just casually mentioned as we were signing off that Vengeance is very good. I wanted to go see it. But I only had time for one movie, and I had to line up right too with the showtimes, and this didn't have as flexible a showtime schedule as the other one I ended up seeing. But I like everybody in it for different reasons, and it just sounds really cool. BJ Novak's always kind of been an interesting guy. He clearly is a great writer. I mean, a lot of the Office stuff was all him. It looks fun. I'm looking forward to seeing it probably on Netflix or HBO Max or something later on. But I can't wait to check it out.
Highly recommend. This is a terrific, terrific movie.
That's awesome. A24's Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
Yes, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On is the adorable story of Jenny Slate as the voice of Marcel the Shell, who lives in this house that's an Airbnb now. He had lived there with his entire Shell family, but now it's just him and his grandmother, played by the voice of Isabella Rossellini. Together, they just kind of get by on the side of life where you'd never see him. And over the course of the story, we're going to find out how where the rest of his family went and how that happened and how he survives. And all this takes place. And then we find all this out because a documentary filmmaker played by Dean Fleischer Camp, who also co-wrote and co-directed the movie, moves into this Airbnb and discovers Marcel and finds out that Marcel can talk and decides to put him on YouTube and create a show and then a documentary, and then it kind of blows up from there. You seem like at times like you're going to get into a movie where it's going to be too cute, like the movie is going to be too cute, but it starts off that way, but it gets like Marcel gets a little salty here and there, and it's kind of adorable. It's kind of like when you see a 6-year-old get genuinely upset. They really take a stand on something that they believe in, and it's adorable in that way. They're going to have to take the L because they're 6, but still. Still adorable that they took a stand. He gets a little salty here and there. And Isabella Rossellini, that adds this level of incredible dignity with her voice. She's just unbelievable. Just completely awesome in this movie. But yeah, Jenny Slate and Dean Fleischer Camp have written something here that is just, it's warm, it's inviting, it's sweet, it's very funny, it's very thoughtful, and of course incredibly innovative. The way that they did all of this stuff to incorporate Marcel and his grandmother, it's very DIY, and at the same time, it's also very innovative. Like, you kind of wonder all the time, how are they doing this? And that's pretty great, even though it looks incredibly like it may have cost $10 to make, which is it's just a testament to how ingenious this movie is. I loved this. I think this is a fantastic, classically on brand for an A24 kind of movie. Just phenomenal. Everybody should go see this.
Oh yeah, when you were trying to describe it, I mean, it just sounds very A24. The trailer, I loved watching it. I was a little worried that the trailer was the movie, but then when I read your review and you kind of like mentioning the saltiness of Marcel, it just makes you want to see it more, because it sounds like more than just a trailer. It's A24 number one. Jenny Slate has been pretty good with a lot of the independent stuff she's been doing over the last 5 or 6 years, maybe even longer than that. Uh-huh. And this just looks fantastic. I did not see it on our release schedule in the local theaters, so that's the one I looked for first.
Yeah, it popped up out of nowhere, it seemingly, and the release has kind of been, I don't want to say they botched the release or anything like that, but certainly a lot of people were like, wait, what movie? Like, it was getting big for a week, and then it didn't come to our area, and then when it was not bigger, it was not big anymore. It wasn't our area. It was a very unusual release.
Did it come to our area?
Strategy. Oh yeah, that's where I went to our theater to see it. Yeah,
I didn't say a showtime the day I went to the movies. That sucks, because I would have. I mean, again, I only had the certain time open, but
yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing this one as soon as I get a chance. Though, this is definitely for the A24 fans that are going to go out of their way to find it on wherever they can to see it. But it looks really cute, really cool, and fun.
Yeah, innovative in terms of how it's made, and just adorable overall. It's fantastic.
I did go see Bullet Train, though.
Bullet Train stars Brad Pitt as the guy who's a former, I guess, hired killer who's now just kind of a snatch and grab guy. He's assigned an opportunity to get on this bullet train in Japan and recover a suitcase that he doesn't know what's in it. He's just supposed to get the case and get off. And the rest of the movie is about inventing ways to keep him on the train. And the movie just keeps coming up with one invention after the next, and they're all just fucking fantastic. This movie is so much fun. It's so violent and gory and brutal and strange, but the key to the whole thing is Brad Pitt, who just cannot believe his luck throughout. The introduction to him is just him trying to be positive and be happy and find himself. Pitt's just playing this with so much confidence, and it becomes funny just because of the manner in which he expresses that almost misplaced confidence in his newfound happiness. Then they come up with these little inventive details about just how bad his luck can be, or how good his luck can be, depending upon how you look at it. Then the characters that they throw him in with Aaron Taylor Johnson and Brian Tyree Henry, Zazie Beetz, even a very brief cameo by Bad Bunny, who is incredibly funny in the few moments that he's there, and what happens with him is very funny. This movie's terrific. This is actually directed by the director of Deadpool 2, right, and the guy who directed the first John Wick. And so the violence is incredible. And he's just a master of this sort of violent comedy tone that is both it's brutal, but it's also very, 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 very funny. Michael Shannon has a very, very funny way in this movie. Just everybody is just so very, very good in this movie, and I had a really great time watching it.
I'm with you completely. One, this is the kind of movie I need right now. Just kind of turn your brain off and just have fun. Two, they took it seriously, even though it's that kind of movie. You care or are at least interested in everybody in this movie. And they take their time away from Brad Pitt. You know, it's not just like he's in every scene. They spend time with the other guys, and Brad Pitt's just off doing something else. And you're not bored. You're not longing to go find Brad Pitt. Everybody matters from every little cameo, which I wouldn't call them little cameos or huge cameos. But you're right. You know, if you throw Ryan Reynolds in this role, it probably works, but it doesn't work the same. You know, it's great that it's a change of pace with Brad Pitt doing it instead of Deadpool 3 or whatever. But this is just so much fun. Everything about it, it knew what it was. It stayed in its lane, and it looked like they had a blast making it. They just all that translated to the screen perfectly. Sandra Bullock does a great job, kind of without being in it, you know, to help Brad Pitt carry this movie. Joey King's that's her name, right? Yeah. Everybody does a great job of making you shift your focus. So the whole Thomas the Train stuff's hilarious.
I really wasn't sure that was going to work for me, but eventually I did I bought in eventually on that.
The diesel thing at the end was great. I mean, everybody in this is just, I mean, you think certain guys are the main characters and they disappear for half the movie. And, you know, Bad Bunny's barely in it, but he had a pretty prominent role in the trailer.
But I mean, well, he's indelible though. I mean, in the brief time he's there, he makes a great impression. That was a great thing about it, that I loved what he did with John Wick, which is continuously having people tell you how dangerous John Wick is, and he does that with a lot of the characters in this movie, like giving people a moment to explain. Oh shit, those people are fucking dangerous. You don't know what you're into here. Like the twins is a very funny bit. And, but Michael Shannon especially is rarely on screen, but everybody's talking about him. What is the White Death? Is that his name? Yeah. Like, it's just great. The mask that they give him for the couple flashback scenes that he's in, just fantastic. It just builds him up as this amazing badass, and he's played by Michael Shannon. So it's like, fuck yeah, I'm scared of Michael Shannon.
I mean, I know you're not supposed to get your phone out during the movie, and I was at a PAX screening too. I swear to God, everybody pulled their phones out. I went to IMDb and that's Michael Shannon, right? Because you never really get a clean look at him until maybe 5 minutes with him on screen without the mask on, and it's just so great. And I loved what you said early on about him, good luck or bad luck. In the movie, he considers himself unlucky. He doesn't carry guns. He never he is very lucky by everybody else's bad luck around him, but the way he looks at it is he's unlucky, which is a very cool characteristic of that character. I don't know, just everything about it. And then just to find out why he was there in the first place adds that much more to it. I don't know. This movie is fun.
There are several things here that happen too that are very coincidental, but they don't play as a convenience of the plot. The director here takes such care to make sure that the things that happen for a reason, even as Brad Pitt is completely unaware of some of the things that he is putting in motion, especially at the end of the movie, because he doesn't know about a particular weapon. He doesn't know about another particular weapon that's in play. And each time these things seem to end up where they need to be without him even knowing he did it. And it's fucking great.
And it never,
because he just explains it perfect. There's just a reason why everything happens.
In a lesser movie, you're sitting here talking about, and of course this happens because it's so convenient. If Gerard Butler were the star, that's the movie they'd be making. But because the director cares about everybody in this movie and every character, from every cameo to every ounce of the film, it allows it to be just a ton of fun. And I can't recommend it enough. It is. I've been looking forward to it forever because the trailer is fantastic, and it's been in front of every movie as long as Nope's been in front of every movie. But it really does hold up, or it paid off, and I'm glad I did get to go see it as much as I wanted to see Vengeance and Marcel the Shell. This was a lot of fun, and I needed it. It was that palate cleanser that I've been longing for a while.
Terrific movie.
let's stay with that and watch Prey on Hulu.
Prey. Yes, this movie stars Amanda Midthunder in a Predator prequel set in the year 1710 among Comanche Native Americans, and the story goes that a predator just lands in their area and starts killing, and they think that it's probably some sort of animal that's doing it, so they go out to hunt it, and then of course they're coming across the predator. And what an awesome movie. This movie is incredibly violent, like even more violent than Bullet Train. Like there's even more blood in this movie than there is in Bullet Train. There's a lot of blood in Bullet Train. But this movie has the challenge of being a Predator prequel. It has a challenge of being like, this movie is not funny. It's not going to be funny at any point. It doesn't have that to fall back on. It just has to be badass from beginning to end. And whoo, boy, is it ever. And Amanda Midthunder, is so awesome in this movie. And the way that again, like I said before, about the way that Donovan Leitch builds up his characters through dialogue and action and showing you that, hey, this character is going to be formidable. And they do that with her in several different scenes where she's kind of building herself up. She wants to be a hunter. She wants to go on the hunt. She wants to, be somebody who provides for her tribe. And she's working on that. She goes into the forest and she trains, and you see her training, and she comes up with an innovative way to use her weapon. And the movie slowly but surely shows you the ways in which she might just be able to fight a predator and make her a viable person. It's certainly a David versus Goliath situation, but she's viable enough that you can buy in enough that she could kill a predator. And that's really all we need, is just that baseline belief that she's got a chance in this fight that really makes this movie work. On top of that, they add in a couple of extra villains, these French hunters who, there's a whole lot of, I was thinking of professional wrestling terms throughout, like babyface turns and heel turns and and putting somebody over. And I love the way that they kind of put her over in many ways, in many different ways here to, again, build her up as like a championship contender with your predator as the champion. I just loved that. This movie is so cool, but it's also really smart too in the way they deploy the action and the blood and the excitement. You part of this movie, you're just kind of watching it you're watching it through your fingers. And just there's a scene with a bear that is just awesome. Just one of the sickest things I've seen all year. And I loved it. Just her fighting anybody was great in this movie, but her showing down with the predator was awesome. She's a badass, and I loved it. And what an incredibly inventive ending too. They really worked a lot to make the logic of that work, and I appreciated that.
Oh yeah, again, something that you could have, like you said, if you don't work hard enough, you're gonna roll your eyes, and instead you bought everything that happened at the end. What I hate about this movie is that it wasn't in the theater. This is such a big looking movie.
Yeah.
It bummed me out that I had to watch it on my TV. The set.
The cinematography is really good too.
Yeah. It does not deserve to be on TV, let alone Hulu. Not that it matters, it's all TV, but why the hell was this not in the theater? I don't know how this wouldn't be successful, especially since
I can kind of explain, because I was talking to a guy on Twitter about it, and I made a similar comment about I thought this belonged in theaters, and he said, well, you got to look at the fact that the last Predator movie and even Predators didn't do that great in the theater. Plus, you've got the name Prey instead of Predator, so a lot of people went into this not even realizing it was a Predator movie until a lot of people started buzzing about it and telling them. The idea, it's kind of a question. Plus, you got to also think about Bullet Train's got Brad Pitt. It's got a lot of big stars. They could have found a release date for it, maybe that might have worked. But in the end, they were
select theaters, select cities thing. I don't know.
But the bottom line is that they just didn't see a theatrical dollar coming out of this, and they were probably right about that.
Well, and then the fact you throw it back, it's a period piece.
Yeah, exactly. It's got the Predator's the biggest star in the movie. Yeah.
And part of me wonders if I didn't know if it was a Predator movie, if that would have taken away when I found out or not. Because if it was just a different monster, it would have worked. It didn't have to be the Predator. And some part of me thinks it would have worked better just because you don't have the history of the other movies. I think this is the best Predator movie, period.
I agree. I absolutely.
We might get shit on for that opinion. Because some people
that's nostalgia. The first Predator is a lot of cheese.
A lot of cheese, and I'm vegan, so.
But it's good. It's good. I like Arnold.
Arnold, but to call it the best action movie of all time is ridiculous. But
no. Nor would I call this the greatest action movie of all time. It's just really, really, really good. This would have a better chance. If you're asking me about my favorite action movies, this would have a better chance than the original does of fighting for that title.
I just wonder if it had the right buzz, like a Mad Max Fury Road got, if it could have been better. But it was a hell of a movie, and it just looked so well made that I just felt bummed I was watching it at home. Yeah.
I get that, because I was like watching it going, man, that cinematography is fantastic. Like the look of the movie is phenomenal. Like I said before about that scene with the bear, it just is amazing looking. Everything about this movie, the gore, the fights, the settings that they choose. There's a fight scene in mud that's really great. Oh man, the incidents that they choose to focus on. There's a moment where she falls into this mud pit, and she's got to figure out a way to get herself out, and it's very exciting. And for a lot of movies that might be a cul-de-sac, but he finds a way to bring that back in a very unique way. That's just everything about this movie is just very, very clever, very entertaining, just amazing action. I loved the showdown against the Predator. I also enjoyed watching the Predator kill those French hunters, because those guys were dicks. So it kind of gives you that thing that other horror films don't give you, that moment where you're kind of, okay, I can enjoy the Predator, doing what the Predator does, but I can also see the Predator still be the bad guy and get what's coming to him too. So it's it works out. That's a clever way to do it, as opposed to the way they used to do it in the early 2000s and 2010s, where Jason, they try to make him sympathetic, or or Leatherface, they try to make him a sympathetic character with this whiny backstory. He was so sad as a kid. Fuck off with that. Give me this. Give me some people that I don't give a fuck about that Jason can kill, but then he's also still the bad guy and gets killed. Give me that. That's the way they did it here. It's fucking great.
Yeah, and I do think I would have liked it better if it didn't have to be in the Predator universe, because all you need is a monster. It didn't matter what it was. But at the same time, they did it, and they did it to perfection. And this is a brilliant move on Hulu's part, because people probably were getting rid of Hulu, or they only have it because they had Disney or whatever. So this will get people watching Hulu, I think. I have seen a lot of buzz about people talking about it. It is that good, and people should check it out. I was shocked that Josh didn't watch it yet.
I was shocked to hear that too. Yeah,
I thought for sure he'd be begging to be on this week's episode, and he's probably glad he's not, because we're in a roundabout way shitting on Predator, even though you're saying you liked it. I do like it better than Aliens or whatever.
Oh yeah, by far, no question.
All right, Sharp Stick.
Sharp Stick is the new movie from Lena Dunham. It tells the story of a woman who's in her early 20s. She lives at home with her sister, who's also kind of in her early 20s, with their adopted mother, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh. This young woman does the social media recording for her sister, who's trying to be an influencer. Meanwhile, she herself is working as a caregiver to a special needs child. And in the midst of that, there's this story about her just desire to have sex. She really wants to lose her virginity. She can't have kids. She had something happen to her where she had something go wrong, and they had to have surgery and whatnot. She can't have children, but she wants to have as much sex as possible. And from there, this is a very weird movie. It's a movie that's very much up its own ass in a way that is just unpleasant. There's an element of this movie where it's a movie about sex that doesn't want to be sexy. So, but it is sexy because she's very attractive, and so is John Bernthal, who plays the guy that she's kind of sleeping with. But it's also not sexy, because then she starts this thing where she she sets up this like list of A through Z sexual activities that she can do to try and become more sexually experienced for some reason. The movie doesn't really give her much of a motivation. There have been people discussing whether or not this character is somewhere on the spectrum in terms of autism. Lena Dunham has said that's not the case, but when you watch the movie, she's 24 years old, but she acts like a 13-year-old throughout. Like, her mentality is that of a child at times, a child who then is engaging in ever increasingly bizarre sexual acts, which are also then edited in a way. And I don't care about seeing nudity. I don't care about it, but there is no real like that there's no hardcore nudity or anything in this movie. There's a lot of sex and a lot implied, and that's fine, but it's weird. It's a weird movie that way, because you can't really figure out what the message is in the end. What is she trying to say with all of this? I'm not sure exactly. I've seen this movie twice, and I cannot figure out for the life of me what it is that Lena Dunham is going for. Is this a movie about a woman who is sexually repressed, discovering sexuality for the first time and exploring everything and becoming a more well-rounded person? Kind of. But she's also this incredibly childlike woman who lives at home with her mother and her sister, who are both in their 20s, who don't appear to have any kind of prospects going forward. Their mom Jennifer Jason Leigh is great, but like all she does is drink and sort of yell at her kids to be better, to one kid to be a better influencer, like so she can raise the family out of poverty or something. I don't know. It's a very strange movie. On top of which, it's got this woman, the young woman who was in Zola, who's this incredible like breakout actress. She's fantastic in Zola, Taylor Page, and she plays the influencer sister, and she's like barely in the movie, and nothing of what she does has any bearing on this. And you're just left there going, why did you hire Taylor Page for this role? Why did you bother hiring her? You're not doing anything with her. She's not. The social media stuff doesn't say anything. The influencer stuff doesn't say anything. And this is about this girl's story. The white girl's story is the one that's front loaded here. On top of which, there are just other weird choices in here. Like at one point, you're looking at her list of A to Z sexual activities, and she's got like L, lesbian, not necessary. Does that mean she's done it before? Or is that something that she's done? Or is that just she's completely ruled out that spectrum of sexuality? That's untouchable. We can't go there. Why even put that in the movie then? Why even mention it? Why not just leave it out then? Why do you have that prominently featured? Like, I don't understand what, again, it's maddening trying to figure out what it is that she's trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't dislike Lena Dunham, but I feel like that's a lot of her work where I don't know exactly what the point is. I try, and I know people seem to like her. She does have buzz behind her, and it's good for her. I mean, I'm glad she has the audience she speaks to, but it's not me, and I guess it's okay.
I like Girls. I thought it was a good show. I thought the kind of things that she did in that show are similar to this, the kind of things where you're going, well, I'm not sure what the point of that was. At the very least, they were provocative in a way that was interesting. These are provocative in a way that's not particularly interesting. Her sexual encounters are very odd. She has all these men into her house to have anal sex with her. She gets upset with one guy because he wants to try and talk to her, and she just wants to blow him so she can get that, so she can put a little check mark next to blowjob. And it's like, what are these scenes? What is happening here? Like, what are we supposed to take away? Is this a dangerous thing to do, what she's doing? It would seem like it would be, but there's never really any danger portrayed to it. I'm baffled by this movie.
Yeah. At least Jennifer Jason Leigh was good.
Yeah. I mean, she's always good.
All right. Our undisputed classic is Daniel Isn't Real.
Drop Dead Daniel, as I call it. This is the horror film version of Drop Dead Fred. We picked this because we were watching, because we were doing Flickchart a couple weeks ago, and it's like
poster.
It had a cool poster, and like from the producers of Mandy is a kind of a nice thing to see. The story goes that this kid had a imaginary friend as a kid named Daniel. Daniel was somebody who kind of influenced him to do bad things to the point where Daniel actually almost influenced this kid into killing his mother. The reason for that is that Daniel may or may not be some sort of demon. But regardless, he kind of shoves Daniel into the back of his subconscious, which is essentially represented by this old dollhouse in his house, and forgets about him for many years. But he grows up kind of troubled, kind of not understanding who he is and wanting to figure out his life. His mom is very messed up after what happened, and ends up kind of in a facility to take care of herself. And he's worried that he's going to lose his mental health. And so he invites Daniel back into his life, and Daniel is now played by Patrick Schwarzenegger. And here's where me and the movie part ways. It's nothing against Patrick Schwarzenegger. I don't think he's a bad actor. But what he does here is what everybody does when they have a role like this, where they're playing that character that says and does everything that everybody thinks they want to say. And it's just the same performance that you've seen from any number of villain characters who just say mean things and try and push people to do, outre things. And then it's not an original performance. It's not a very entertaining performance. And it just feels like it's very much something you've seen before. He doesn't bring anything new to it. He's not a particularly charismatic actor. He's a handsome kid, but he doesn't project himself, and he just seems to rely on a lot of gestures and the freedom of being the most evil person in the room at any time. And it's rarely very funny. It's rarely even very interesting. And I keep going back to Drop Dead Fred. This is basically just a horror film version of Drop Dead Fred. I mean, it's really in the end. I mean, aside from the ending, which is very bloody. I wish Drop Dead Fred had been really bloody at the end, but nevertheless.
Yeah, I can see the potential in it maybe, but, and I don't even want to blame Patrick Schwarzenegger for it. Maybe it is his fault, but it wasn't a well-written character. Like, it was just bland. And like you said, there was nothing to it. And you throw the Mandy thing above it, and there's not a bland character in that thing. No. And on top of that, they're so not bland. They're on the other end of that spectrum, and none of the characters in here are on that level of spectrum. So right away, you're putting Mandy in my head, and then you're not living up to it. So that's kind of sucks. Mm-hmm. I can see the potential in it, potentially. If they were to switch things around or do something a little different, but overall it was just something I'm probably going to forget it, to the point where we kept calling it, before you called it Drop Dead Daniel, we had a different name for it, like every time we talked. So we couldn't remember the name of it.
Doesn't exist or something. I just couldn't. I finally just settled on Drop Dead Daniel because that was the one I could remember.
That's a better name. Even though it's clearly a parody of Drop Dead Fred.
Oh man, it's just some of it, like some elements of it, like the visuals sometimes aren't too bad. The one female character in the movie is pretty good. She's kind of got a little bit more life than everybody else in the movie, and I liked her. The main character is incredibly bland, like you mentioned. The kid who has Daniel as an imaginary friend. I can't even remember that actor's name.
I recognize
that's
him,
just
but I
how
don't know who he is.
looks familiar, but I couldn't tell you. I couldn't pick him out of a lineup. That's how boring he was in this movie. And like I said, Patrick Schwarzenegger is basically playing every demon character from like he has the smugness of Jason Lee's demon from Dogma, and that's kind of the template for a lot of characters like that, where they're just these, they're so villainous, they're mustache twirling, and then they just say things, everything that I can't believe he said that. I'm so shocked that he said the thing, and then he did that. Oh my god, I can't believe he did that.
But what they needed was, not, don't copy it, but, what Christian Bale did in American Psycho, something like that was so off, left of center, but over the top, or, again, it can't be that. But
what might have worked better is make it Harvey.
Right.
With James Stewart, where you never see Daniel, and it's just him talking to Daniel and Daniel influencing him to do things. That could have worked. Like a ghost Daniel maybe would have been more interesting.
But you still got to turn the lead actor up a little bit. Somebody,
I might have actually then put Patrick Schwarzenegger in that role, and he probably would have been more interesting. And him in a sort of a horror film Harvey, I kind of like that idea.
Yeah. I mean, it's competent. It is what it is, but it's just not. It's just lacking and too much blandness.
Yeah.
Does not live up to the poster at all.
No. That's unfortunate.
Here's a real classic. 30 years ago, Unforgiven came out.
Yeah, Unforgiven. Clint Eastwood's absolute classic about revenge and the West and just these amazing characters. And I mean, again, we talked about it before when we're talking about Bullet Train, about how legends are created, and you're kind of building a legend around characters. And again, they do such a great job of that here, is putting the character that Eastwood is playing over while also making Hackman into a very formidable villain. You've got Morgan Freeman as this very sympathetic character overall, and just the mixture is so perfect. And even as long as this movie is, it never feels long. That's one of the great things about this movie is just it's got a wonderful pace to it, where you just get lost in this movie very easily. It never feels like it's wasting any time, and yet it goes on for quite a while.
Right.
I love this movie.
And I'm sure it wasn't the intent, but you can even apply all the other Westerns Clint Eastwood did and have this be like the button that ties them all together, and it works. Whether he was going for that or not, it doesn't matter. It's just an added thing that makes this movie that much more fun. I'm glad it won the Oscar. It's everything that Dances with Wolves wasn't.
I agree.
It's such a watchable. It really is. Maybe you need to see Tombstone to get into westerns, but this in a lot of ways is the pinnacle Western movie. It really is that good, and I don't know. I don't really know what else to say about it, but it's fantastic. And as much as
it's interesting though. You mentioned Dances with Wolves, and there is an interesting sort of counterpoint about how, when you look back at the past and you want to think of a movie maybe like Dances with Wolves as sort of definitive of America's past, all this pastoral beauty and so on, and then you've got this, which is the actual past of America, which is violent and filled with revenge and characters who are very much out for themselves and building the future of America. Really, these are the kind of guys that did that.
Right.
That's sort of cynical, but it's sort of true when you look at it.
Yeah, I mean, Dances with Wolves is a great white hope, and this is realistic.
This is the no bullshit version.
Right. Yeah, and this one still gets talked about while Dances with Wolves doesn't.
Yeah, that movie feels its length.
And to think there's an even longer version out that Josh watches once a year. For those of you who are new to the podcast, Josh used to be a co-host that we still refer to as if he's
all the time
here.
Because we love him.
Yeah, he's great, and hopefully his son joins the podcast in a few years. Takes his place. Also, 30 years ago, last week, we didn't do an episode, but Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Death Becomes Her came out, and then this week, Raising Cain also came out. Next week, we've got Fall, Mac and Rita, Bodies, 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 and Emily the Criminal. Our classic is Open Water, and in 1992, Digstown, Johnny Suede. Stay tuned, and another Jennifer Jason Leigh movie, Single White Female, that I've never seen, but I'm just because I'm falling in love with her again as an actress, kind of want to see that. I don't know if it's any good or not, but I remember people
take a swing at it. Yeah, why not?
She's awesome, though. She's kind of been the Nicolas Cage of the podcast lately. All right, let's see here. I don't have Flickchart up and running, but I'll get it there. Maybe. Let's get rid of the Twitter here. I'm following Jason Mewes, as you can see. Ah, come on. At least our YouTube people know what's going on. All right. What do we got? I love the internet so much better here. Why move, by the way, for everybody listening at home? That's why we didn't do an episode last week. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Blast from the Past.
I like both these movies. Obviously, I think Raiders of the Lost Ark is a better movie for me, but I think Blast from the Past is actually kind of great.
Yeah, 10 Things I Hate About You, The Fifth Element.
That's tough. That is very tough for me. I love The Fifth Element, but honestly, my crush on Julia Stiles will never end. So it's 10 Things I Hate About You.
I actually agree with you on this one. I that movie, one, I'm kind of the perfect age for it, and two, I'm not the biggest sci-fi fan in the world. I do like The Fifth Element, but three, Luc Besson is one of those guys that you're kind of falling out of love with his movies. And 10 Things I Hate About You is just charming and watchable and fun.
Absolutely.
And I love Heath Ledger and Julia Stiles in it. The Adventures of Robin Hood, 1938, Children of Men.
Which way are you going?
Children of Men. Children of Men. Which way are you going?
Fine. Children of Men, I don't care. My review of Children of Men is up on the blog, by the way. If you want to check that out.
You stayed current on that one? Or you stayed consistent?
I've stayed consistent, yes.
The Benchwarmers, Wrong Turn 2.
Good God, Wrong Turn 2. I would rather watch that piece of shit over anything Rob Schneider does.
I don't hate the Benchwarmers.
Say what?
I don't hate the Benchwarmers.
Wow. Shocking. I loathe that movie, so I would rather, like I said, even a bad Wrong Turn sequel is better to me than that.
You won the coin flip, though.
I've never seen Killjoy. Sorry.
Neither have I. Weird Science, The Bourne Ultimatum.
Bourne Ultimatum.
Yeah. Gone Baby Gone, Kingdom of Heaven. Gone
Baby Gone.
Yes. Anchorman 2, The Square.
Anchorman 2. I'm not sure what The Square is. Maybe I'm not seeing that one.
I haven't seen it. How about Anchorman 2, Beavis and Butthead to America?
That's tough. I just watched an episode of the new Beavis and Butthead series on Paramount, which is very funny. He actually can still do the voices. He's still got some ideas for these characters. I was really impressed. So I've not seen the new movie, the new Beavis and Butthead movie where they go into space or something, but I want to. You know what? Because I think Anchorman 2 is a little too indulgent, I'm actually going to go Beavis and Butthead.
If it was Anchorman 1, I might have gone the other way, but I agree with you.
I think Anchorman 1's better, though, in terms of the indulgence.
Right. Familiar with The Country Cousin?
No, I'm not familiar with that movie.
Come on, God, don't make this tough.
Don't worry.
How to Train Your Dragon 2 or Rocky?
Rocky.
Have you seen Stallone's big fit with Aaron Winkler?
Yeah, where he's like super pissed off at him for Rocky stuff. Yeah, they're trying to make a sequel with Drago, I guess.
Yeah, like he called Dolph Lundgren out, and then Dolph Lundgren's like, "I thought you were involved with it. I apologize. I'm out."
Oh wow.
Yeah. And then Stallone deleted everything, so I don't know.
Oh wow.
Save.
I've not seen his movie on Amazon either. Is that out yet?
What movie?
The Sentinel or Sentinel?
I don't.
Something like
the Stallone.
He plays like a superhero.
I don't think it's out yet. I hope it's not out yet.
We'll add it to the show next week, regardless.
Whether it's out or not.
Yeah.
Saved or Enemy at the Gates?
Saved by a lot. Enemy at the Gates is a disappointment.
Yeah. It's one of those movies people like, and I don't get it. Blade or Cars?
Much love for Cars. It's Blade.
Yeah. A lot of what you see with the Marvel movies, you can kind of tie back to Blade in a lot of ways. Oh. Wow. Dances with Wolves
me.
or back Basic Instinct 2.
Fuck you, Fate. Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
Basic Instinct 2 is unwatchable.
Yeah, it's just like, why did you sign on to do this movie? How I Got Into College or 16 Blocks.
16 Blocks.
Agreed. Dark Shadows. What Happens in Vegas.
Dark Shadows. At least it's got personality.
Yeah. Rudy Manhunter.
Manhunter.
I really like Manhunter. Face Off. Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
Agreed. The Quick and the Dead or 1984's Dune.
The Quick and the Dead is much shorter, so let's go there.
Yeah.
That's its only advantage.
Rudy or Terminator Salvation.
Rudy, yeah. I just can't with Terminator anymore.
I just can't with Rudy. You win, though. There's very few movies I'm going to let Rudy win over. Psycho, Days of Thunder, the remake Psycho.
It's Days of Thunder, yeah. If it were the original, obviously you know where I'm going, but that remake is, no. Why'd you do that?
My son asked if we could watch Psycho sometime. I'm like, I think you'll find it boring, but sure. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, 40 Carats.
Never seen 40 Carats.
Elysium or Fantastic Beasts.
Elysium, as flawed as it is, it's still better than Fantastic Beasts.
And I'm coming to the podcast loving the movie, and you and Josh have just pulled it apart, and I'm like, wow. I didn't see any of that when I was watching it. But you're right, it's there. Air Bud, Wrongfully Accused. How about just fuck both those movies?
Yeah, that's the better plan.
Eight-Legged Freaks, Finding Neverland.
Finding Neverland. I love Finding Neverland.
Yes. Wow. Thought my internet was better than this. Maybe it's Flickchart.
That was the whole reason you moved, Bob, was better internet. Come on. What the hell?
A lot of the reason I moved is because of better internet. Public Enemies, Wild Hogs.
Public Enemies. Although I was embarrassingly nice to Wild Hogs in my original review of that.
I came away when I watched Wild Hogs, I'm like, I get it. It's watchable. It's not for me, but it's nothing wrong with it. That's how I felt when I saw it. And then I'm never going back to it. I'll never watch it again. So who cares?
Yeah, don't.
Forever Young, Limitless.
Limitless. Forever Young is just pure syrup. Just overload.
Deep Blue Sea. Yep.
That's not a movie. There we go. I've never heard of that one.
Deep Blue Sea, Furious 7.
Furious 7.
Life of Brian, Diamonds Are Forever.
Life of Brian.
Yeah. Misery Toys.
Misery.
Yes. Just Married, Disturbing Behavior.
Disturbing Behavior.
Guardians 2 in Bruges.
That's tough. I love Guardians 2. Guardians 2 is awesome. I think it's even better than the original Guardians. But In Bruges is In Bruges, so I'm going with In Bruges. Which, by the way, you can't even get right now.
Really?
Put it back on the market, damn it. I wanted to watch it the other night, and I couldn't find it.
That sucks. Yeah, Guardians 2 is like, a good cereal. But sometimes you just want breakfast. American Pie, Shoot to Kill.
Never heard of Shoot to Kill. Or Deadly Pursuit, for that matter. It's got 2 titles.
Okay, I saw that. American Pie, Pacific Rim.
American Pie.
Yeah. Clueless, Trading Places.
It's funny. I was reading, I was editing reviews for the blog, and I know I keep doing this, but SeanAtTheMovies.blogspot.com, if you want to check it out for yourself. And without knowing it, and years apart from each other, I was writing about Guillermo del Toro and Pacific Rim, and I also had written about his first Hellboy movie. And in both reviews, in the opening paragraph, I talk about how this movie comes from that part of Guillermo del Toro that we don't talk about.
two movies people like. But our podcast was never very nice to them. I never saw any of the... I've seen you would think the part you don't want to talk about is some of the weird shit he does, but it's so interesting.
That's the only thing I want to talk about. That's what I love.
But it's interesting as hell.
Shape of Water, man.
Shape of Water. The one he did last year is fantastic.
Fuck yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll take that over his action sci-fi stuff every day.
Yeah.
Don't care for it. Don't care for Pacific Rim. Don't care for Hellboy.
Well, I mean, Pacific Rim can only be so good anyway. So it's just like, it's a robot movie, like a Rock'em Sock'em type movie. There's a ceiling on that. So maybe you made it as good as you can make it, but it's still can only be so good. Clueless or Trading Places?
Clueless.
Yeah, it's just our generation, I think. I love Trading Places, though, but speaking of, Lady in the Water, Over the Top.
Lady in the Water! Lady in the Water!
Okay, but if Over the Top starred Nicolas Cage.
Now, see, that's a great movie.
That might be. That could be like Mandy level good if you did it right.
Really good. Him going all method. Building up him falling in love with a weird accent. Go with it. Going super southern even more than Con Air.
Right. And instead of like Richard Marx, it's more King Crimson or something weird like that, or Emerson, Lake and Palmer, some just out there messed up prog rock.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
There's another wonderful universe out there somewhere.
There needs to be. I wish there was a way to make these movies just with CGI or something.
The technology's almost there. It's almost there.
But I mean, I wish we could do it. Like, just on our computers. Like, hey, Nicolas Cage, what can we put you in?
I mean, we saw what happened. They replaced Kevin Spacey and all the money in the world. Come on, let's replace him in American Beauty.
Yes.
Get to work.
I mean, maybe the best movie of all time. Like, if he's in that.
I mean, right?
I'm not even kidding. It's funny, but right up there with Big Lebowski and Everything Everywhere All at Once. And
I'm saying it could be. It could be.
All right, we're leaving on that. Nicolas Cage.
Fair enough.